Hey, welcome back to Actually Let's Talk About It. My name is Ayanda, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for listening to the previous episodes, Boundaries and Love the Way You Lie, Part 2. If you haven't listened to those ones, they are uploaded for your enjoyment, okay? And yeah, today's topic was chosen, voted by the people on my Instagram. And we are talking about my university experience. That is very, very exciting, very interesting. Um, I didn't expect people to want to know my business like that, but okay. I hope you enjoyed this episode and I hope you learn a few things. Sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Okay, alright. I went to Rhodes University in South Africa, Grahamstown, South Africa. It's a student town, student donkey town. There are a lot of donkeys. um, uh, Very gloomy weather, but very hot summers as well. No beach, but yeah, it. I'm just having flashbacks of that place. But yeah, my university experience. I think like the first thing that I think uh, stuck out to me was the culture shock I had. I am Zimbabwean, so leaving Zim is portrayed to be conservative. So when you go out to these places, like there are a lot of things that you're like, oh, okay, like this is normal, this is okay, or this is allowed, especially this is allowed. So, so I think for me it was the the queer community. I think seeing a transgender woman for the first time was something that was like, oh, and also learning about the pronouns and how if you misgendered or if you showed any animosity or prejudice towards them, you could actually get expelled. Like you could actually be academically excluded or removed. Like that was just like crazy. I was just like, okay, they really take people's rights seriously here. And I think it was very good to have that exposure. I also enjoyed the autonomy I had when I was in university. It was just like nobody is forcing you to do anything. Everything is up to you. It's whether you're going to do that assignment, whether you are going to stay up and party all night and miss some lectures the next day because you're having a hangover. Like that level of autonomy, you're like, yeah, okay, this is my life. And that realization put a lot of pressure. I think um, immigrant or students who relocate from Zim, you know the struggle or the pressure that you have because people are expecting you to at least make it out the hood. Like, you know what I mean? So, there was a lot of responsibility and like holding yourself accountable. Like this constant, listen, this is my life. Okay, I can do what I want, but at the same time, I can't afford to fumble. Yeah. Also another culture shock thing for me was the dressing. Like people are more comfortable and expressive, especially in how they dress. The girlies show a lot of skin, honey, and I was like, oh, okay, I can look cute as well. Some of them looking very cute. So yeah, the dressing, I was like, oh, I can actually be stylish. I can be creative with how I wanna look. Because one thing about the South African babes, the South African girlies are always looking on point. They're pressure. You understand me? They always, I don't know, they just look so put together. Like there's just this this like fashion, I don't know, they just know how to look, how to dress, how to pop out and show niggas, which is something that I didn't know how to do very well. I don't think I was stylish when I was in high school. So university just made it like cool, like, okay, you can wear this, you can look like this. I started taking Pinterest and Instagram pictures. You understand me? I was like, okay, angles. At the time, it was so cool because people were just very expressive in how they dressed, and I loved it. Like, people on campus always looked good. And in as much as it was a student, I think, like, also because it was a student town, people could wear whatever they want. So there was a lot of autonomy in that, and I like that. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was really, really cool. Um, and I think the also a wild thing with the lecture halls, guys. Like, if you were doing subjects or modules, sorry, like law, psychology, um, engineering, computers, or whatever, like those classes are always big, and there'll be so many people, like 100 or 200 of you. Like, it was just wild to see that many people. And like, I personally had social anxiety because of that, because I was so used to like the small classes, like the usual, like, you know 30 people, 8 people, 15 people, and it's not crazy. And then you would be 200, it was assembly, and it was just like once in a while. But then the lecture halls, there were times when if you got there late, you wouldn't even have a place to sit, and then you end up like sitting by the steps. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't miss those lecture halls. They were just overwhelmingly huge, and like, oh, especially during exams. During exams, you'd really feel like, damn, am I gonna make it? You'd feel the pressure. You'd feel the pressure. Um, but yeah, those are the things that I just observed. So I was staying on campus for the first 3 years, and then my last year I stayed off campus. So I was staying on campus, and it was very convenient. I feel like if you're on campus, you actually get the opportunity to save a lot of money, because I'm comparing how how much money I would like have when I was on campus as compared to when I was off campus, you know. So the things that I just worried about was like, getting takeout, or if I go out to Groove, like money for my drinks, of which drinks, like alcohol, the alcohol in Grahamstown is just like wildly cheap. Like, they had a lot of specials throughout the week. Um, I think the infamous one is the 2 rand tequila Thursdays. Like, you could get a shot of tequila for 2 rand. So imagine, like, if you're broke, like, you can still get drunk off of like pennies. Like, they really were enabling us. But do you know what the issue was also, at my university? There wasn't a lot of entertainment. Like, we didn't have a mall, so we didn't have things like a movie theater, a mall, a place to go ice skating. We weren't close to the beach. The nearest beach was like 1 hour, 20 minutes away. So because it was like 1 hour, 20 minutes away, it's something that you have to like budget for, like a trip that you have to plan. And that was Port Elizabeth. And then the other one was Port Alfred, of which Port Alfred was like a bit like dead-ish. Like, it wasn't as stimulating. Exactly. So they were like, okay, fine, there's no entertainment, there's nothing else to do, let's make alcohol cheap. And alcohol was really, really, really cheap. Like, it was just, yeah, cheap, easy entertainment. And that's the thing. um I think our campus, our residential hostels, reses or hostels, whatever you want to call them, sorority houses, whatever, they would try their best to come up with ways to entertain us, like ways to keep us busy, whether it was sip and paint, whether it was a picnic, whether it was a trip out of town, whether it was a games night with a male hostel, and yeah, like stuff like that. Whether it was a party, whether it was a movie night, like um, each residence had a committee that was in charge of like the entertainment and keeping the girlies healthily stimulated. However, comma, I was a hybrid. I like the wholesome things, and then at the same time, I like the club. I like to go out and have fun. Um, the I felt that's when I discovered what is it called? I don't know how to pronounce it. Well, my clicks are whack. Sorry to my closer friends, guys. I'm not there yet. But it's GQOM. It's a type of like music. Uh People say it's like rock star music for South Africans, and I kind of agree with that. It's like a little hardcore type shit. And I actually liked it. I really liked it. Security. Uni was very safe. I would like to believe because it was a small town. So there were rare instances of people getting robbed and mugged and stuff like that. Well, for me, from what I experienced, because it was a student town, a lot of things were very close to, like within proximity to campus, and you could walk. Everything was walking distance, which was good. I would, now that I think about it, I would go for a walk basically every day. I wasn't just like hopping in a car and just driving or being driven around, I would walk everywhere. And it was such a healthy way to keep fit, now that I think about it. And also, I used to listen to music a lot while I was walking. So, yeah, that was how it was like. And I think the downside of it was just the transition from high school, from being a child to being an adult who can think for themselves. I think the downside of it is actually coming next. I've been rambling. So those were the things that I like paid attention to or like appreciate. Please note that in this section, we will be discussing distressing topics for some listeners, including rape, suicide, and mental health struggles. If these topics are triggering for you, please prioritize your well being and feel free to skip this section or this episode or listen with someone you trust. The downside of university. You have to really learn how to manage your time, hey? Like the time management aspect of my life was tried and tested, having to meet deadlines, and be thorough at the same time as you taking care of your mental health because my mental health, that's when I started understanding what mental health was because like I was constantly like freaking out, anxious, worried about, oh my God, I can't afford to fumble. And I think it was mainly because I was a foreign student, a foreign national. And like, parents are sacrificing a lot for you to be where you are. So being a disappointment is like, no, 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 no. We cannot do this. We can't afford to ruin what's going on right now. And I think that like pressure really made me like, work very hard despite the distractions that were there, because obviously there were distractions, but it was very, very, very anxiety inducing, constantly thinking about your family. Also, the anxiety you'd get from like getting those home phone calls because you're not sure whether something happened, maybe something wrong happened, someone passed away, or your parents just want to find out whether you're fucking up already or not. And it's like, it's a lot. It was a lot. I feel like that was just the downside of it. And I felt very much on edge a lot. And I'll be like, I really need to do this. I really need to do that. And people may think that it's a healthy motivation, but I just feel like I could have been a lot more easier on myself. Yeah, I could have just like enjoyed. But I did enjoy myself. Let me not let me not act like it was all doomsday. I did enjoy myself. I would try my best to balance like, I'll be like, yeah, I have submissions and submit literally 2 days before the deadline, and then within those 2 days I'll be out having fun with my friends. So yeah, that was what was a bit difficult, and at I think another thing that creeped me out was rape, how prominent it was. Trigger warning. Um, I hope I don't upset people, but for me, my understanding of rape completely changed because of how prominent it was. Um, a lot of girls used to get assaulted while they were under the influence, and it was assault from like people you knew, like classmates. Your age mates are actually predators as well. And for me, that was like very scary. It was a very scary thought. So like there was this like constant sense of being on guard, like being careful with the type of people that you hang around with, especially the guys that you're around in your space. Because a lot of cases would be reported at the school and a lot of people would actually be academically excluded from the university, and it would be people that and that was what was scary. Like that was what was like eerie about it. Yeah. And then another thing that was very dark, trigger warning as well, was the deaths that would happen to school. There was a lot of like um deaths or suicide that would happen like at the school, which was just like at the university. Sorry, I keep saying school, at the university. It was just eerie, I think, and also dealing with things like depression and seeing people having anxiety attacks and meltdowns in front of you. Like they're just these things that you just start seeing, and nobody is telling you that this is what it is. It's one of those, you are experiencing it. And I think that was very eerie as well, because you really start to question a lot of things, and you really start to introspect even for yourself to be like, honestly, like this is what people are talking about. Oh, this is what depression means. Oh, this is what anxiety is. Oh, okay, this is what burnout is. This is what stress is. You start like experiencing all these new emotions and feelings that you have never put a name to, you know? Another thing that was just weird to me was just like the hookup culture in university. People were wildin'. Like people were doing the most. We had a Facebook page called Rhodes Confessions, and some of the confessions that people had are so hilarious that I actually thought for this segment I would read them out so that you guys understand the type of university I went to. I don't want people to think that I'm making this up. I'm actually going on the Instagram and the Facebook pages just so that um I can pick some that are just outrageous. And these are some of the people that I was living with, you know? It was just so crazy. But anyway, let's get into it. Okay, one of the confessions, guys. Hey guys, it's the end of the year and a lot of us aren't coming back. So I was thinking of hosting a gang thing. Okay, I don't want to say the whole thing because I don't want to get into trouble. If you're a gang, if you're growing, you clock what I'm saying. If you're a hun interested, please DM the admin. Obviously, this will be no phones allowed and masks involved with fake names. The first stage will be finding the girlies that have the fantasy. Second stage will be the dudes. Dudes will pay though, and half of the amount is going to the girlies. Hun that has wild fantasies. This is someone's confession. Someone is looking to recruit people for the last hoorah. That is absolutely crazy. But there were things like this. Like things like this would happen. But it was very DL. I don't know of any. I never attended any. Please. Okay. But that was just how wild people were. You would just see like the wildest confessions, and it was so weird. We also had a Facebook page that where you could load up your confession about your crush, like if you had a crush on someone. But that page was so creepy because the descriptions would just be like so weird. It's like, oh, to the girl I saw walking wearing this. It was giving you energy. It was giving Joe Goldberg because the descriptions would be oddly specific and the person would know your name and surname and you wouldn't even know who they were. They just uploaded a confession. And that is like creepy AF. Like, why? And childish as well because my thing is like, why couldn't you just approach me? Like, why couldn't you just say, hey, like, what's up? Like, I want to understand the purpose of that page because, yeah, why are you not saying hi? You're like writing a very hectic description, a very specific description about me, and you can't just say hello. Like, that was just creepy as well. That was just very creepy. And yeah, we had the terrible experience of a lockdown. COVID 2020 was just a mess. I think that's when I crashed out. Like, that's when I actually crashed out during lockdown in 2020. And Grahamstown is known for being the alcohol town, right? So imagine South Africa had an alcohol ban, like a nationwide alcohol ban. And basically, there was now a shadow economy for people trading alcohol and because of the ban. So there was this like little there were these like little underground dealings where people were getting alcohol on black marketed price. So like a six pack of, let's say, brutal fruit, usually it's like, I don't know, $8, $6, I'm not sure. During lockdown it would be like $20 because it was the black market price. It was ridiculous. People were profiting of this ban, and it was just so funny to see it happening. But yeah, so lockdown was just very tense, I think, and doing the online learning, transitioning from going to lectures to doing online learning was just it was just hard, man. It was just so hard. And I spent lockdown in South Africa. I didn't come back home, and yeah, there was just like this anxiety about being a foreign national, especially considering that flights weren't being allowed at some point. People just had to stay where they were, and the windows for travel was so limited, even from city to city. There was a lot of patrolling of the police, of the army. It was a bit of I think that was what was scary as well, because it's something that I had never experienced before, and I'm sure a lot of people have never experienced that. So the whole world was experiencing this for the first time, and no one knew what to do. No one knew who to believe. Was it a hoax? Was it real? Was it? There were so many conspiracy theories. It was just a very difficult time because there was no certainty, and I think because of that, even my approach to school, to my modules and everything changed. It was just now like, listen, it is what it is, man. Like I didn't have the same motivation, and then because of that, I just realized that I actually needed help, mental health wise. Like I don't think I was coping with the drastic change of everything that had just happened. So I started therapy, and in my process of starting therapy, it was very hard. It was a very hard phase to be in because I wasn't used to talking about my feelings. There was just this activation of awareness that just started, and because I was so unfamiliar with that, it sort of made me anxious sometimes. But it was very, very helpful because I learned a lot and I grew from that. So yeah, the group culture during lockdown, especially when the stages were, going from stage 4, level 4 to level 3, thereabout. Groove was so much fun during lockdown. I think that was when I actually partied for the first time, like crazy partying. It was so much fun because Groove would start at like 8 p.m. and then the club would close at like 12 p.m. And then because people are so used to going out, and people had missed going out, people were like feral for just some stimulation. Um, People were going out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The minute Cupcake was like, listen, we're on a lower level, so there are certain things that you can do. Like now you can go to the club, but the club has to have a limit of, like there was usually like a limit, 100 people or what. And there were times when you were supposed to have a mask. It was just such a weird time. It was dystopian now that I think about it. But Groove was really fun. People were releasing songs, man. During lockdown, people were in their fields. People were about their bag. That was what was crazy. I think my 2020 song of the year, my lockdown song of the year, my lockdown song, sorry, I don't know why I'm saying it like that, is Ina Ieza. Ina. That one. That one was my jam. That was my jam. Just, just live, just enjoy your life. I think that's the meaning of the song, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so Groove would start from 7, 8 till like midnight, and then after that, people would host at their house, like posties, like house parties, where it would be so crowded, and then like security guards or the police would have to shut down these parties because there was so many people. Like people were outside, like a lot of people were trying to get outside despite the fact that there was COVID going on. We did not care. People were just like, you know what, we only live once, the world is ending, we might as well dance, and enjoy ourselves. So that was a very fun experience, and I think also the block parties. I don't know whether they're called block parties or street parties. Like Grahamstown used to have a lot of those during lockdown, where they would just park their cars in the middle of the streets and just like play whatever music, and people have cooler boxes, people have their shisha, people are just dancing and vibing everywhere they're going, and it was really, really fun. Until one day they had to deploy the army to get rid of people from the streets. Like people didn't want to go. Ish, guys, there was just something wrong with people. We were not okay. Lockdown really, people were just not okay. Like we were not okay. Like we really weren't. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share and stay tuned for the next one. We will chat next time. Bye.